Welcome back to the Next 100. It's me, Molly, back again. I'm still getting comfortable with this whole idea of being on camera, just myself and this whole bag, but here we go anyway, because I think I can bring some value to your day. So, as I mentioned in the pilot, this podcast is going to be short and sweet and hopefully full of valuable information, practical and tactical information, things that will actually help you in your business to get to the next 100. So, what is the next 100? Well, it could be the next 100 days, the next 100 emails, the next 100 push-ups. It could really be anything, but what it's really dialing in on is the next $100,000 in your business. So getting to 100,000 can be such a hurdle, right? Such a huge hurdle. But then the next 100 gets a little easier. So I wanted to really kind of do a little bit more deep dive on who I am and what it is that I do. So I told you a little bit about my history, right? But I want to tell you more about what it is that I actually do every day. So I had a little bit of issue. I had a bit of an identity crisis, if you will. I was trying to figure out, what am I? Who am I? What do I do? Because I've worn a lot of hats in my time. I've owned a multimedia company for 23 years. I've done a lot of grassroots marketing. I've done a lot, right? So, but what am I and what do I want to do? So first and foremost, I'm a podcast producer. I own Heartcast Media. We are a branded podcast producer. We produce podcasts as a business development tool. I'm also an artist. I definitely have an artistic side. I love graffiti. I love design. I love web design, graphic design, all of that. I'm definitely an artist. I got that in my genes for sure. But what I am not is a coach. I don't identify with that word at all. It doesn't resonate with me at all. I don't want to be a coach. And maybe that'll change, right? Because Lord knows I've said real definitive statements about things before, then changed my mind. So that certainly is a possibility. In fact, it's a probability now that I've said it out loud. But coach just didn't really resonate with me, and it finally dawned on me. I'm a brand strategist, and that I think just really nails it at my core. I am a visionary. I'm a big picture, broad strokes kind of a gal. If you let me know what you've got and what you're working with and where you're trying to go, I can see that path so clearly. I have created jobs. I like to consider myself a modern day muse. I've created and envisioned and dreamed up jobs that didn't exist before, which, friends of mine have actually started businesses. I love solving problems. I love providing that other perspective for people. It's really what I do. And after 23 years of owning a multimedia company, making tons of mistakes, creating all kinds of content, producing events, you name it, I've done all kinds of things, right? So what am I? I'm not really the person who's going to see the thing all the way through. I'm a broad strokes visionary kind of gal, like I said. So I can definitely help you reverse engineer your goals. First of all, let's start. What do you want your life to look like? Then when we figure that out, then we can say, okay, what is the goalpost? And then we can reverse engineer the steps to make sure that you get there. And a lot of it is through automations. A lot of it is through strategy. A lot of it is through branding. It's a lot, but really at the core, it's brand strategy. Who do you want to talk to? Who is your target client, audience, whatever? What is your demographic? What is your avatar? It's all about having a strategy. I'm super, super big on being intentional because I think so much of us live our life just going. We don't even have the option to be intentional or really think about what it is we're doing. We just go. We just figure things out, right? It's like that reel that's on Instagram when it's maybe for once you should just sit down and not do everything. And then the response is well, who's going to do it? And there's truth in that. It's really nice from a privileged standpoint to say, self-care, take the day off, but that's not super real for a lot of people, right? So being intentional with your time and what you're going to do. So if you want to start a podcast, make sure you know why and what is the goal, and don't just interview entrepreneurs because you think people want to hear those stories. What's the point? What do you want the podcast to do? Imagine a perfect scenario. What does success look like? So, and I'm able to do that in a lot of different ways. So I figured the best way for me to really tell you about myself and who I am is to kind of talk about what I'm working on right now. So I have two different businesses. I own Heartcast Media, which is the podcast production agency. It's branded podcast. Podcasting is a business development tool. So we have 9 employees. We're hiring our 10th and 11th this week. We are a one-stop, white glove, full service, podcast production agency. But what sets us apart is the strategy. What sets us apart is me. You get my 23 years of marketing experience, and we really dial in on the strategy of your podcast and how to make that work before we start recording. So we're not just another shop where you're going to have a different guy or person working on your podcast every week, and they're cranking out audiograms through some software, and it's a churn and burn warehouse. It's the exact opposite. You get all my experience, all my attention. We map the thing out, and then I have a team of amazing people who execute. Full-time video guy, audio engineer, copywriter, graphic designer, social media, SEO, website design and development. I mean, I literally have a full-time person for each one of those things. And then I'm the brand strategist. I am the person that builds the business, build out the systems, kind of tease up some clients to send to the salesperson, Anthony, who's also our relationship manager. And so that is my job inside of the company. And so we build websites at Heartcast Media. We also record audiobooks. So what I do every day is get in front of people to talk about what it is that we do really well, which is create branded podcasts. So part of my mission with this podcast, obviously this is also a branded podcast. The best way for me to get in front of people and have an opportunity to talk passionately about the stuff that I really love is through a podcast. So, here goes nothing, right? You gotta put your money where, gotta put your mouth where your money is, gotta put your money where your mouth is. I don't know which one of those is correct, but I'm probably going to get flagged as explicit for that one. So the goal of this podcast really is to try to help you with some really great information, right? So we're going to cover all kinds of stuff. We're going to cover website design and development basics, how that matters, why blog posts matter for your podcast. We're going to touch on a lot of these things. And the idea is to give you a tidbit every day, every time, not every day. Don't rope me into that. Every time you listen to this podcast, you're going to get one gem, one little digestible bite of a gem that you can implement in your business and see results. That's my goal. So what am I working on right now? Well, we have a pretty high-profile podcast. Spencer Haywood, he was born into indentured slavery in 1949 in Silver City, Mississippi. Played in the Olympics and the NBA, sued the NBA, took him to the Supreme Court and won. And because of him, he created generational wealth for countless athletes because he's the reason why people don't have to go to college anymore for 4 years before they can go pro. And if you're into sports, you understand why that's a really big deal. And if you're not into sports, basically it was very predatory and ultimately racist practice that mandated that professional athletes went to college for 4 years first. So what was happening is a lot of people didn't get to go to college for a lot of obvious reasons. And so that knocked them out. And then the ones that didn't really get an education. The colleges made a ton of money off of them. And 9 times out of 10 after 4 years, they were not going anywhere and had health problems and no money and no education to show for it. So what Spencer Haywood done has been amazing. So talk about storytelling at its core. I am kind of obsessed with this podcast. I love being the producer. I love being able to show all of our editing and video and everything that we do really well. I'm also building a couple different websites for clients right now. One is a company that's doing certifications across the United States and Saudi Arabia on taking companies green in this corporate space. I'm building a website for a client of mine who also owns a podcast production agency because I'm all about collaboration, man. There's enough room for all of us. So I'm actually building his website to kind of look like mine because, hey, man, we can all eat. It's cool. We're doing an audio book for the Scowcroft Center, and it's a audio drama, and it takes place on the moon. And so our audiobook engineer, Mike Moxham, is doing all these amazing voices, and it's super cool, man. We're flexing our capabilities in a lot of different ways. So my average day is, I have a few meetings with people. I'm usually working on at least 1 or 2 websites. I'm coming up with some strategy. I'm looking, of course, at all of the content that my team is creating. I don't like to bird dog my staff, but I do like to just, kind of check things out and make sure that everything is looking good. And it's like what I would, want to see of my own content and make sure that I'm really pleased with the work that's being done. So I do a lot of quality control, but mostly I just let my team do their thing. And the reason why is because I built a business and I built systems for them to work in that makes sense, that makes it really easy for them to do that. And so I try to keep just like a high level view on things. But at the end of the day, like I built this business, I built these systems, and then I hired people and trained them how to do things the way that I wanted, but then I let them do it their way because they're better at it than me, right? So I told them what the goal of their position, what the intended result needed to be, but I don't dictate on how it is that they get there. And so my staff is all over the world. We are in Vietnam, Dubai, the Philippines, Brooklyn, Costa Rica, Washington, D.C. We're literally across the world, and we're steadily growing every day. Very excited about that. And so we do a lot of communication on Slack and Trello, and we do all our bookings through Acuity, and we're going to talk about all that stuff. Like every time I do an episode, I'm going to unpack a tool that I use, show you how I use it, do some screen shares. We're going to really give you the nuts and bolts of how this business runs because you can implement it with your business, right? My other company is my personal brand. That's mollyruland.com. And that's for more like a passion project. So if you want to talk about branding or strategy or anything along those lines, and you don't have a podcast or it has nothing to do with a podcast, or even if it does, but you just want to hire me and not Heartcast Media, you can do that there. And so I do something called focus sessions where we do 2 meetings. We meet for 15 minutes and we talk about what it is that you want to talk about in your focus session. And then you fill out this really detailed form. So I get all kinds of information, and then I meet with the clients for 90 minutes and we solve whatever problem it is, whether it's naming the business or coming up with a brand strategy, coming up with a marketing plan, whatever it might be, whatever the client really needs some clarity on, I'm there to help make that happen. And I love that shit, man. I really do. Well, now I'm definitely explicit, but that was just a matter of time anyway. But I love that so much. I love that. I can't put into words how much I love sitting with people, understanding their problems and solving it for them. I can't always do it for myself, especially in my personal life. But man, I'm super good at doing that in other people's businesses. So that for me is like actually really enjoyable. Not that Heartcast Media isn't, but I really, really love that side of things. And I think that's where I'm at my best because I get to take all these collective years of experiences, all the mistakes that I've made, the failures, the mishaps, right? And I get to take the conclusions and of everything that I've learned and then give that back to somebody and not only say, here's a way that you can get it done, but I did it and it worked, right? Or I did it and it didn't work, right? And so I feel like I'm bringing a little bit more to the table there. And so it's exciting, but I don't do coaching. I just do these focus sessions. And so that's what my life looks like right now. I'm about to launch a new program where we offer like TikTok account management and reels and shorts and all of that for our clients as a standalone product, or if they want to do that to support the podcast that we're producing. So that's exciting because that's a new product, that's a new situation, and frankly, it just gives me an opportunity to watch more reels and say that it is research. Ding, ding. So that's what I do every day, right? So it's a lot of, having meetings, coming up with strategies, sending out some proposals, making sure the team has what they need. We do twice a week staff meetings with my 2 head guys, Anthony and Matt. We just make sure everything's cool at the beginning of the week. We know what to focus on. And then on Fridays, we check in, we recap the week, and then we just kind of hang out and bullshit a little bit and wish each other well for the weekend. And then we do it again on Monday morning. And so that's a little snapshot of my life. As you know, I live in Costa Rica, as you can see, in the window behind me. I had to move some stuff around and get the dog crate out of the shot. It wasn't easy to make this all look so smooth, but I'm really trying to deliver a good product to you and make sure that it looks and sounds good. So I hope you're enjoying it. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, let me tell you, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, right? So, thank you for tuning in. I want to keep these super short and super sweet and like keep you coming back, right? So I'm going to end it for here. I just wanted you to, there's a lot of people who are like, I'm this and I'm that, but like, what do you actually do every day, right? Like, I'm a firm believer that you are what you do every day. And so I think the best way for you to get to know me and to know that I'm not full of shit is by just talking about some of the case studies, the things that I'm working on, what I'm excited about. strategies I'm taking with certain clients. Some of them will remain nameless, of course, but hopefully this will give you some light bulbs for your brand or your business or your problems or whatever that's happening. A lot of people tell me that I'm brave for moving to Costa Rica, and I don't know if I would consider myself brave, but I sure am grateful for this opportunity, and it was a hard-earned opportunity. It came from making a lot of mistakes for a lot of years, and it took the humility to know that I was getting it all the way wrong, and the willingness to try to at least head it in the all the way right direction. And I had to humble myself and read a lot of books and challenge myself. And I was one of those people that was like, oh, I can't read, my neck is bad, and audiobooks are hard, my attention span. Well, that's bullshit. If you want something bad enough, you'll get good at it. So hopefully, what I went through can save you some time and energy, and but more importantly, hopefully I make you laugh and I give you some good gems, and you look forward to this podcast and you implement it in your business and you keep it moving, and you look forward to hanging out with me for 15 or 20 minutes once a week, because I'm going to look forward to hanging out with you. I'm always open to some feedback. Let me know what you want to know about, right? And I'm going to do a few interviews here and there, but mostly it's just going to be short, sweet, tons of value, and keeping it moving to the next episode. So on that note, I will catch you on the flip side, kids. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the Next 100, sponsored by Heartcast Media. We are a digital media creative agency focusing on branding, marketing, strategy, and amplification. From personal branding to podcasting, we've got you covered. And to continue this conversation, join me on Instagram. My personal account is Molly Ruland, and of course, you can also find us at Heartcast Media. That's where the really good stuff is going down. So join me there. Let's continue the conversation, and until next week, have a good one.